I've found that I'm a lot more peaceful since releasing a lot of my rigid attachments that I used to have, and the Buddhists have known this for thousands of years, but here in America it's not exactly widespread knowledge. Or if somebody is familiar with the concept of attachments leading to suffering, that doesn't mean they're necessarily practicing letting go of their attachments. I know as a young lad growing up in Michigan, I was not exposed to this kind of concept of attachments creating problems. In fact, I was pretty much just buying into the idea that attachments were where it's at in terms of finding happiness. And commercials are largely about creating attachments. So you can look at advertising as a process of trying to influence what your attachments are, because in reality you really don't need much, and if you do have needs, they can arise from within as opposed to from comparison with others, especially with actors who are performing roles in which they are happy because of a product. But the kind of attachment that I find myself most liberated from is what other people do. And that kind of attachment is something that I'm able to witness more when it comes up, and see that I really don't need other people to do anything in particular for me to be happy. And a lot of major attachments come in the realm of sexual romantic love and attention, and also there's the wanting things to go a certain way with money, making more money instead of less money. But I find that as I let go of the need for things to happen a certain way, I'm just fine. And when I mentioned sexual romantic love, it reminded me of there's a series of commercials in which a guy chooses a beer over a woman, and this takes place in various ways, and it is using comedy, but at the same time I find the ads usually pretty obnoxious, because there seems to be kind of a misogynistic, aka anti-female component to them. But what they're basically doing is saying, okay, let's take the strongest attachment on this biological, social, emotional level, psychological. It's all about, the strongest being about romantic sexual love. And then, if you replace that with alcohol, then that won't let you down. And that appeals to an addictive component within people, which knows that relationships are challenging, and so why not just become addicted to some substance instead? So there's advertising in action. That's what it's up to, is influencing what your attachments are. But I find that when I observe wanting things to go a certain way, in terms of if I want someone to feel a certain way about me or give me a certain degree of attention, then my ego will pick up on that and run with it and say that if what I want happens, then I feel good. And then what if it doesn't happen, then I feel bad. But with practice, you can really get to the point where you just observe these desires and you change them into preferences. And I feel that a lot of concepts in Buddhism have overlap with cognitive psychology, which is the most commonly practiced therapy modality that is going on today, is working on your thoughts. So if you just observe what comes up and you realize you're going to be okay, and you tell yourself you're going to be okay, whatever happens, you're going to be fine, then it can really release you from a lot of suffering. And I also find that even if I have a certain kind of attachment to something going in a particular way, if I can trust, this is where faith in the universe comes in, if I can trust that if something doesn't happen, it's because it's not meant to happen, and that there's something better that is awaiting in its place, then I can open myself up to more authentic experiences, as opposed to try to force my will, my ego's desire, upon a situation that isn't meant to be. So, take relationships, for example. If something doesn't work out, that can seem like a horrible thing if you're attached to it happening in a certain way. But if you don't force it, or manipulate a situation towards your preference that isn't really necessary, then you can just allow and see what unfolds in its place. Because a lot of times people find, in retrospect, that it's great that things didn't work out in one way or another with another person or some job or whatever, because something better was awaiting. And when you're in that limbo period in which you're not sure what's next, it's hard to stay connected to the wisdom of knowing that something is going to arise in your life that is customized and perfect for you. And the way to ultimately attract more positive experiences that are meant for you is to just work on yourself. Work on your thoughts, work on developing a peaceful mind, and that'll shift your whole vibration in a way that'll attract other experiences that are more suited for your higher self as opposed to your ego self. So, I would suggest really witnessing what comes up in your mind in terms of saying, I really hope this happens. I really hope my team wins, or whatever the attachment is that comes up. And just tempering that with the concept that you don't really need things to go a certain way. It's going to be fine if things don't go the way that you would like them to. You can just keep things in perspective, and then you'll find more peace in just everyday activities and things that are within your control, as opposed to hoping things that are outside of your control are going to go your way.